Good evening. Oh my God, I forgot to put now. Okay. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I am on two platforms. It's YouTube over here. Hello, everybody on YouTube. And it's TikTok over here. Hi, everybody on TikTok. Good evening. Good evening, everybody. Good evening, everybody. Good to be with you. Good to come on here and hang out with you. Thank you for taking the time to click on this video so that you can come and hang out with me in this capacity. Just trying to make sure here that I am appearing okay. Well, I'm going to share with you how God healed me from depression. That's my topic for today. That's my testimony for today. You know, someone said people can deny God when someone is talking about Him, but people cannot deny their own experience of God. Just like whatever your experience has been with God, I cannot deny that. And I cannot convince you otherwise. Once you have seen God and you have experienced Him, nobody on this planet Earth can ever be able to convince you otherwise. So if you are here for the first time, my name is Precious. I am the heart behind God and Broken Pieces. God and Broken Pieces is a vision God has given me to communicate His heart to His people concerning the brokenness in their lives, concerning how God deals with brokenness and broken pieces. How broken pieces look like. It can be broken health, shame and regret from the past, guilt from the past, trauma, things not working out the way that we would have thought, anything at all that altered our lives in such a way that it left us heartbroken and it left us functioning in a way that we are actually not supposed to be functioning. That is actually, sorry, let me just see here. I'm just trying to see something here. Okay. All right, I was just looking at something in the comments, but yes, that's basically how it looks like, okay? Broken pieces in our lives, how God desires to heal us from the brokenness in our lives. And I'm here to share today that I experienced trauma in my childhood, and that trauma left me functioning differently from how I would have if I had not gone through that as a young child. I used to, it made me shrink. If I can tell you how much of a bubbly young girl I used to be, intelligent, bubbly, beautiful personality, and so forth. And most of those things remained with me, but then what became a problem is that I shrinked. After the things that happened to me happened, I sort of like pulled back, and that led me to being a different person from who God had created me to be. And I went through life crippled, emotionally crippled. I don't know if you have experienced the thing of being crippled in your soul. And I didn't even realize it until I got to my young 20s and I started working. So I'm live on two platforms. So if you see me changing my face from this platform to that platform, please bear with me. I'm trying to have eye contact with everybody. But what had happened is when I was in my early 20s, I got a job, and that job caused me to go for training. In fact, it was the military training. Okay, I went to the military and I struggled. For the first time in my life, I realized that there was something very wrong with me and how I was functioning. And I thank God that He used the military, because it was in the military that I was able to meet God. A year after I had joined the military, I was introduced to Jesus and how I can be able to receive Him into my life and have Him as my foundation, so that everything else concerning my life can be built on Him. Secondly, because the Defense Force has a mental support system or health support system at large, I was able to receive mental health support in a form of counseling, therapy, if I can put it that way. So I remember going to see this social worker, and I told her how I was feeling. I didn't understand what was going on with me. And she told me, she affirmed me so much, told me things about myself that I couldn't see about myself because of how my life had beaten me down and how what happened to me had stolen my identity from me. How many of you know that there are certain things in life that can happen to a person and leave them without an identity until they recover themselves back? And after she told me those things, I was like, wow, I didn't even realize that that is actually how I am. Um, it's been so long since anybody had affirmed me in that way. And, needless to say, from there, it transitioned to me seeing a therapist. Things were so bad that I had to see her once a week. Once a week, I had to go and see her. And what I realized today, if you are watching and perhaps you may not necessarily have access to, what do you call this? You may not necessarily have access to therapy because of how much it costs. What I realized about therapy is that it doesn't necessarily heal you. What therapy does, it positions you to be intentional about getting to be self-aware. Therapy or a journal that you revisit on a regular basis, I would like to even go as far as saying daily, forces you to go into your thoughts and go into your heart. And it can pretty much serve the same purpose, even though you don't have that person communicating with you in that way and asking you questions that will dig in. But a journal will allow you to revisit those moments and be in touch with how you are feeling. How many of you know that there are people who actually run away from themselves? They cannot stand being by themselves. That's why COVID was so hard for a lot of people, because it forced them to be in an environment where they have to deal with their demons. They couldn't, people who usually can't stand their own company and their own thoughts especially, are people who run to alcohol, people who will tolerate bad company so long as they are within the company of other people and that company is not theirs, so long as their thoughts and their memory is not haunting them. People who don't want to be with themselves or cannot stand their own thoughts, are people who will abuse drugs, people who want to be distracted by something all the time. If it's not movies, maybe you don't necessarily drink or you don't necessarily do substance, but you always want to be watching a movie, you always want to be surrounded by people, you always want to be doing something, so that by the time you finish, you are so tired that all you are going to do now is, all you need is go to bed. Okay, I remember I had this man who confessed to me that he killed so many people and his wife does not know that. And so sober, he cannot sleep. Those were his words. He said, sober, I can't sleep. And I don't even know how to tell my wife this. So the things haunt him. He says, sometimes I wake up from nightmares screaming from the faces that I'm seeing of the people that I had done wrong. And some of the people that I killed, I know they are loved ones, and their loved ones are crying today from what I have done, and they don't even know that I am the one who killed their loved ones. Okay, so that is just an example of how having a journal, being intentional about getting on your journey of emotional and soul healing can actually help you. What I have learned from going into therapy, what actually psychologists try to do. And that is the reason why after going through that therapy for like a year, I went into depression. You can ask yourself, but why didn't, at that moment, I was still fine. But after I went through everything came, after I went through that process with the therapist, everything came onto the surface like this. And I couldn't breathe. I was so overwhelmed. I said, this is too much for me. I felt like running. and I couldn't run because everything was triggered. Everything was out in the open. And I needed to deal with this thing. And all the therapists can do is listen, but sometimes they don't have the tools to equip you in order for you to be able to break free from whatever it is. So it's up to you how you are going to deal with whatever it is that is tormenting you. And I thank God so much that he afforded me that opportunity, because after the things that happened in my life, I spent most of my life alone. I had to figure life out by myself. And when I say by myself, I don't want to insult God. He was there for me in so many ways that I can count. However, on a physical level, I didn't have support and company like I was supposed to as a young teenage girl, as a young adult, not even guidance on some of the things about womanhood, about being a young girl, about being a woman, how preparing for that, and so forth. So most of the things I had to learn on the streets, and what I didn't learn on the streets, I absorbed from the streets again, which was wrong, and so forth. But I thank God that through his mercies, he was able to protect me from a lot of things that would harm me, and he was able to preserve me so much that today I can be here to talk about how he has been my everything, my foundation, how he has been my support, how he has taken care of me, how he has been my provider. And now looking back at my life, I realized that it's not that I didn't have the things and the people or the support that I needed. God provided it from the sources or the resources that are not conventional. So let's talk about, for example, if you are thinking about an absent father or an absent mother. God can provide what a present father is able to provide to you. However, it may not come as a package of your father. So because it doesn't come in that package, you can miss it in the moment. But when God gives you perspective, then you are able to say, oh, you know what? God never left me without provision in this area. Even though at the time it didn't look like it. Even though, like, for example, when Mary was going to give birth to Jesus, Mary can come on here today and talk about how much she didn't have a midwife. But the baby was delivered. Joseph became that for her. So just because Joseph was not in a package of a midwife according to those times, it does not mean that God did not provide one who must be there for Mary. In fact, I feel like Joseph was actually created for the purpose of being there to help Mary fulfill the purpose of bringing the Messiah on earth. So I just want you to also keep that in mind. I hope load shedding does not hit us people, because I feel like I'm just starting out and the testimony needs to come. What God did for me, I want to share with you what God did for me as far as healing my depression is concerned. If load shedding comes, I might have to come back on here tomorrow and share the rest of the story. But like I was saying, that it can happen that what happened with Joseph, God did that on purpose, put him in Mary's life to serve as the ultimate provider and protection, but more like personal bodyguard, a husband, but also one who was used by God for that very purpose. So just be on the lookout, be aware, ask God to open your eyes to be able to see around you, to be able to see what is at your disposal that is serving the same purpose that you may be seeking for and looking for. And sometimes opportunities come in a form of problems. You may also be looking for an opportunity and God has presented a problem before you. And he's saying, by you solving this problem, you would have identified the opportunity that I have sent your way. So like, for example, I am here because there is a problem of brokenness in our societies. There is a problem of brokenness in our communities, in our families, as individuals, and also in the nation. Our nation is experiencing a lot of many forms of brokenness because the people who live in the nation are not okay, because a ripple effect of what happened in the previous generation is catching up with us. And unless we do something to uproot the trees that are giving fruit, that we are eating the fruit of, which are bitter fruit. Unless we deal with the root, we will not be able to reverse the curse. We won't be able to reverse what has been apportioned to us and decided for us. And in order for us to reverse is to go to the root and uproot the root of the problem and deal with it from there, so that in the space of what we have uprooted, we can begin to plant new seeds, see different results moving forward. And even if we are not here to see the rewards, our children's children will be able to reap the rewards as much as we are also reaping what our great grandfathers did. Whether we like it or not, we are living in a time where we are reaping what they have done. We live in a world where the laws and the policies were decided by dead people. And whether we like it or not, that is what has been apportioned to us. So in order to see a change in our families, in order to see a change in our nation, we also need to be very intentional about planting seeds that we want our children to sit under the trees of in the coming generations. So I want us to be generational focused, to be generational minded, because that's how God is. God is so generational, in such a way that he called one man and told him that I'm going to make you a nation. And a nation does not happen overnight. A nation does not happen because so and so got together and they had one child. We see how they had to go through a transition, everything that they went through until they became a nation. It took them going into Egypt to become a nation. Only when they came out of that were they a nation. But when they went in, they were not a nation. So it just goes to show how generational God is. Okay, God is very, very, very generational. And that's why we also want to adopt that and make sure that whatever we do, we have generations in mind. When you spend that money, think about the next generations. When you make that phone call, think about how it's going to affect your children's children. When you make that investment, when you mess up, think about how that is going to affect your children's children. We need to always have a generational awareness in mind. And getting back to how God healed me from depression. Depression is not a small thing. What I have learned about depression is that it is an indication that there is a breakdown in our own functioning system. So it's almost like an implosion. The nervous system cannot take the pressure anymore. And so there is a breakdown, there is a collapse. You feel like your whole world is falling down and falling apart. Why? Because the inside cannot function with the dysfunction that is happening on the inside. I hope you got that. I hope I said that right. And going into depression after therapy, I was put on antidepressants. I went on antidepressants. What they did was numb me and remove the symptoms of depression, whatever it is that I was thinking, the harm that I was thinking of doing on myself. They removed that. However, they made me numb. I was almost like a robot, okay, a living robot. And that's when the Holy Spirit came and he said, Precious, do you understand what these, well, I'm paraphrasing. He didn't really put it in this sentence, but he made me aware. He said, what depression medication, are you aware of what this depression medication is doing to you? Because what depression medication is doing to you, it is numbing. It is, it's like taking a sheet, S-H-E-E-T. It's like taking a sheet, S-H-E-E-T, and covering up S-H-I-T. It's like taking a sheet, a white sheet, right? A white sheet. I wish I had a white sheet. It's like taking a white sheet and covering S-H-I-T. That's what the Holy Spirit told me. He said, the more you take this medication, the more you are covering. And the more you are covering, you have layers and layers on top of the problem. But we didn't really get to the problem. That's the kind of God I walk with. That's the kind of God I have brought onto this life today. He wants us to deal with the problems from the root. He doesn't want us to cover things up. He says, I understand that you have gone through traumatic things. I understand that you have been hurt. I understand that you were violated. I understand that you were abandoned. I understand that you were betrayed. I understand that you were abused. I understand that you were mishandled. I understand that you were mistreated. I understand that you were broken down, intentionally so. I understand that you were not supported. I understand that you were deprived of love. I know all that. But right now, since you are aware, right now, I want you to know that there is purpose connected to your breath. Right now, I want you to know that things can turn around. We can turn that mess that happened into a message. And not once would I ever have thought that I can be here in this capacity to share my testimony, to say if you are also battling depression, depression is a sign of a functioning system breakdown. And the Lord is there to say you don't have to be crippled in your soul. You don't have to be crippled in your emotions any longer, because He is the one who created the soul. He is the one who knows how to navigate and get into the chambers of your heart and cause the surgery of the soul to take place. Clean up your septic wounds and bind you up with His love and His comfort, and give you a hug and watch you go through healing and healing pain. There is what we call healing pain. I had to go through that. What that looks like is when you have done an operation, and the pain that comes from the wound of operation is the healing pain. The operation had to be conducted in order to deal with something, the root of the problem. After that has taken place, when you are going through healing, you will feel pain. But the difference now is that pain is intentional, you know about it, and it's meant to bring you good. It's not meant to bring you harm. Because if you don't deal with that pain, the healing pain, you are going to feel the pain of the septic wounds for the rest of your life. And that's not what you want to deal with. That's not what you want to see happening in your life. For God to leave heaven and come on here and say, I came to bind up the brokenhearted. I came to set the captives free. That is huge. Most of us are walking around here and we are not in prison, because we are on the streets of our city, in the streets of our villages, in the streets of our townships, but internally we are in prison. We are more in prison than the ones who are in chains in the physical prisons, because they may be free because God met them there and set them free and set them loose from what they were experiencing, and we are still bound in chains in the inner man. And when you are bound in chains, you can never ever get to a point where you are fulfilling the fullness of what you were created for. And the thing that the enemy has been after since you were born is to get you to a place where you don't get to know who you are, to get you to a place where your identity is stolen, where you are broken, where your situations and circumstances are working against you, where you are working against yourself. That's what the enemy seeks to do. But God in His mercy allows you to get access to what He is able to do, because when you get on earth, you get exposed to so many things, and you may ask yourself, but why would God allow this? It's because you get on earth that is already corrupt. The world and is already corrupt. So the influences you can never really escape, because this is where you grow up. As you grow up, you get exposed to so many things, misinformation about who God is. You get exposed to so many things like, people telling you who you are, which is not really who you are. Your parents sometimes may not necessarily be able to tell you who you are, because what they did was become a mode of transportation to bring you here. Unless they have heard from the Lord, they may not know who you are. And God does reveal to parents who their children are. We see how He revealed to Zachariah and Elizabeth to say your child will be this and this and that. How He revealed to Mary that your baby will be the Messiah and so forth. So God in his own, he determines who he tells. But even as parents, we can go before him and say, Lord, I'm living with this human being. I delivered this human being. Who is he or who is she? We can ask God in that way, the same way that we ask God before we get married. Who am I getting married to? We can do the same with our children, that this person comes from me. Who is this person? I cannot just rely on looking at their personality. Why are they here? Why do I need to deposit into them? How do I position myself to give to them what you want me to give to them? Okay, so what the Lord does is he causes identity recovery. He causes identity discovery. And he causes identity rescue, where he will rescue you from everything that seeks to steal from you, so that you don't have to go through life surviving. Why do you want to live your whole life surviving? Surviving in your finances, surviving in your health, surviving in relationships, surviving in all aspects. God called us here to thrive. We are here to demonstrate who he is. And God is big. If we are not living in abundance, then we are not demonstrating him. Otherwise, then he would have made a small pond. But we see how he made the big oceans. That is a demonstration of how big he is. Something that no human being can be able to contain. If things get loose, if the ocean gets loose for 5 minutes, we see how disasters happen, and they talk about the hurricanes and so forth, because no human being can be able to contain the creation of the Lord unless they are in partnership with God and they are moving in his purpose. And we see that Jesus was able to walk on water. Elijah was able to call on fire. And so many people, Moses was able to turn a stick into a snake. So when God is involved, when we are in partnership with God, everything bows down. Creation bows down. Our bodies need to bow down. And that's what happened with me as well. He said, listen, that mental disease or whatever I think it is that is going on there, we need to deal with this depression. And dealing with this depression means that we are going to revisit the issues that got you to be depressed in the first place, the things that you swept under the rug, the things that you were covering with that white sheet. What went wrong? What was the first area of brokenness? Let's start there. What really hurt you? And then we began to unpack, okay, with the Lord. And then from there, he began to take me. This is what freed me from depression. This set me free. This is better than any pill on planet Earth. Diseases get healed from what the Lord dispenses from on here. This used to be a sleeping pill to me. I used to run away from it because I thought I will never live up to the things that the Bible says to us to do. I ran away from it without reading it. I ran away from it without knowing what it is saying, because I took what people are saying about what this is saying without reading it for myself. And if you are on here and you haven't read this, and you hear people talk about how this is bad and how this is contradictory, how this is colonial, how this is meant to brainwash, how this and this and this and that, that is the enemy speaking through them to make sure that you don't get to know the truth from your maker. This is a track record that was left for us to be able to know who God is and what he intends to do with creation. So what I discovered from here is who God is. What I discovered from here is who I am. What I discovered from here is God's will for my life. I discovered how loving he is and the commitment that he has to me and to you. And so from that information and from that knowledge, I was soothed already to know that God has great plans for my life, to know that God is in partnership with me, to know that my past does not define me. Where I come from does not define me. The messes that I have done do not define me. The situations that I'm going through right now can change, whether it's sickness, whether it's lack, whether it's curses. And as I went through, he continued to show himself faithful. At every given point in my life, he continues to provide the kind of people and the kind of support that I need. There has never been a season and a point in my life where I needed something and someone and God did not provide. Every time I identified, he would put it in my spirit first, you need a mentor. And the moment I come into agreement with him, then I'm able to see the mentor that he has sent. And sometimes I look at people and I desire that I wish I could also have this level of whatever, and God exposes me to that thing. So what God desires is to walk the journey of life with you. He does not desire for you to walk through life by yourself. He doesn't desire for you to figure life out by yourself when you didn't create yourself. You did not call yourself to existence. Therefore, why would he leave you out here in the open to go through life without him and struggling and not knowing how to navigate life and not knowing what to do? He doesn't roll like that. He's too faithful to leave you unprovided for. He's too faithful to leave you without direction, okay? And so we really, really, really thank God that from that moment, I began to walk this journey with him. And I said, Lord, show me, how do we do this thing? And so, you know, I need you to show me things that I do not see. And that's exactly what he did. He showed me. And this journey involved a lot of tears. I cried tears from things that would have happened 15 years ago. And God goes and shines the light, his light. He goes and shines his light into that chamber of my heart that was locked up. And after he's shown his light in there, I see what is hidden in there that has been killing my soul. And then we begin to talk about it. And he begins to give me perspective. These are the things that were happening in private, where no one else was with me, where no one else was watching. The tears of healing that I cried on my own together with God. It's different from crying the tears of sorrow. When you cry the tears of healing, it means that you may never have to cry about the same thing again, because God has stepped into your situation. And the reason why you are crying is because he's cleaning up that wound. And when you clean up the wound, it's bound to be painful. And after that, it heals. So God, when the word says God is our healer, indeed he is our healer. When the word says that God seeks to see us whole, that is exactly what he desires. But do we even give him the chance to do that? We can sometimes go through life focused on everything else except being focused on our maker and what he desires to accomplish in our lives. How do we go through life disconnected from the one who called us to life in the first place? Who brought us here? Who's responsible for our lives, if you think about it? How do we go through life in that way? So, ladies and gentlemen, in as much as I would like to continue and share more, I will come back on here again another day when the Lord has allowed me to come back with part 2 of how God healed me from depression, okay? I want to share with you more how God healed me from depression. Complete healing. And he equipped me with tools to say, if this thing ever attempts to come back again, this is how you hit the back of the devil. This is how you burn the bum of the devil. You burn him back to hell with my fire in this way, so that he doesn't have to come on here and terrorize you again and oppress you again and suppress you again, because depression is also a form of identity suppression. The enemy suppresses you. You can't even fully express yourself. You can't even be fully yourself because you are too depressed to be seeing anything else. You are focused in this rut so much that you don't even see any other possibility. What you see is your way deeper into the rut. You want to see yourself 6 feet under. That's exactly what depression does. It causes you to want to go deeper into the darkness. But the Lord says, no. He broke me free. He breaks us free from the chains that want to see us sip into depression and remain there. So I'm coming back on here to share part 2. Follow the page, subscribe to the channel, because I'm live on YouTube and TikTok. Follow the page, subscribe to the channel, and share this video with whomever you feel need to hear about how God is able to heal depression. Come back on here again. We are live at 7 p.m. when there's no load shedding, and if there is load shedding, we are live at 8:30 p.m. That's my load shedding schedule. So I hope that I can be back here at 7 tomorrow and come and tell you more about how God healed me from depression and got me off depression medication once and for all. He is so worthy and he is so capable, and he will do it for you regarding anything at all in your life. Does it mean that there are no things that I am believing God for? No, of course there are so many things, and I continue to hold on because he is the God who keeps his promises. He is the God who wants good things for us. That's why we are here. He definitely did not bring us here to punish us, and it's not like he doesn't know that we are sinners. So he brought us here to have us live a good life. So ladies and gentlemen, I implore you to visit my pages. We are on YouTube under God and Broken Pieces. As you are watching this on TikTok, go over there and subscribe to my channel. There is so much information. YouTube is actually our primary mode of content distribution. Okay, content distribution. That is the primary mode of distribution, YouTube. Sort of like the official website, if I can call it that. So go and subscribe to my YouTube channel. You will also get a link there on how to join my mailing list. And if you are watching on YouTube, subscribe, go to the description, and you will find the link on how to join our emailing list. That is where I get even more intimate with what the journey that I have walked with the Lord, or the journey that he has walked with me. Okay, because what do I know about walking with the Lord? He initiated this, so I will say that he walked with me. Okay, and after that, just hang out, watch all the videos. I do daily devotions. I can be able to send that to you via email. I do daily devotions, and they are all listed on YouTube. Can you imagine starting your day with the Lord, just consulting with him and saying, Lord, what do you have to say to me today? Or you can even use slang and be like, hey Lord, what do you have to say to me today? How do we start the day? What's going to happen at 3 p.m.? How do you want me to position myself? Who am I going to speak to? What phone call do I need to make? What do I need to avoid today? Just asking those kind of questions to the Lord. And one of the things that he has allowed me to do is bring you daily devotionals, and they are on YouTube. Go to my YouTube channel, subscribe. The link is in my bio. Or you can just search God and Broken Pieces on YouTube and you will find me. And make sure that you hop onto that subscription list for my email. If you are watching on YouTube, it's already in the description. We are also on TikTok. We are also on Instagram. We are also on Threads. Listen, we are spreading the word of God like wildfire on these platforms, okay? Why you are going to see us. When you are scrolling, you will find us there. Why? Because what God has done for us is too big for us not to put it before the world. Imagine me keeping quiet about what God has done for me. How will you get liberation in your situation? How will you know that God can also step into your situation and do it for you too if I keep quiet? So I'm not going to keep quiet. I have made a commitment that I'm going to show up and share with you that your brokenness can be healed by the Lord, and share with you that the Lord is the potter. Check your brokenness into the potter's house and hop on back onto the potter's wheel and see what he is able to do with the fragmented pieces of your life. He is able to gather them, mend them, heal them, and present them back to you healed and whole. Who doesn't want to be whole? Why should we go through life broken? Why should we go through life limping? Why should we go through life crippled? And some of the crippled areas in our lives are not visible to the public because we are crippled on the inside, okay? But God seeks to say, listen, I can help you sort this situation out if you can allow me, if you can put me first in your life. if you can learn about what I am saying concerning your life, if you can switch off the TV for an hour and consume what I am saying, this is his love letter to us. Until we know his heart concerning our lives, we will never reach the level of quality of life that he wants us to live. Until we invest our time. Do you know what an investment is? Investment means that you are putting in something and you get more in return. Investment is not like savings. Investment is not like savings. You get much more. You get a return on your investment and you make much more. But here's the thing about investment. It doesn't happen overnight. So it means that you need to be fully committed and fully invested for life, to say the results will come. I'm not going to rush them, but I'm going to do my part and God will do his part. And when you position yourself in that way, guess what? You are gone. You are going to experience a life change. Things that are going to happen in your life. You will be the first in your generation. You will be the first in your bloodline to experience those things. It will be you who is the first to go international. It will be you who is the first to get married. It will be you who is the first to give birth in a marriage, have children in marriage. If it's not you, then it will be your children, because you would have set things in motion that your children can be better positioned than you are. You will be the first to become $1 million millionaire, not a $1 million, not a rands millionaire. Not that there's anything wrong with rands, but I'm talking about the abundance of God. When you know what God seeks to do in your life and seeking him for him, not for what he has to give to you, but positioning yourself to say, Lord, if you are the one who created me, why should I go through life without you? How can I navigate this life without the one who called me? How do I start the day without you? How do I know how to handle situations outside of you? How do I seek the healing of the soul outside of the one who created the soul? I always say that if you can show me today anyone who is able to perform soul surgery, I'm looking for that surgeon. Any surgeon who is on here or that you know, who is able to perform the surgery of the soul, they don't exist, because the soul was created by God and only him knows how to perform the surgery of the soul and come out of there whole and healed. Whatever has caused brokenness in your life, ladies and gentlemen, I pray that the Lord will heal you. I pray that the Lord will give you perspective. I pray that the Lord will change the situations in your life, that he will turn your brokenness into healed holes, into a healed story, that he will turn your crippleness into a visible testimony, that people can be able to testify that we saw her when she couldn't function and today she is the one who is running a successful business. We saw her when she couldn't function and today she is the one who is doing this and that. We saw him when he was a murderer and today he is a present father. God is able to take our broken pieces and put them back together and give us the life that he intended for us to live. So thank you for being here. Watch out for part 2. We will hang out again tomorrow. So make sure you follow the page so that you don't miss out. And I have a lot of things in store for you. Thank you for being here. Mwah. That was me signing out of TikTok. And now, oh, these things are here. Sorry, people of God. That was me signing out of TikTok, and now I'm here just to say good night to you as well. Thank you for hanging out with me. Remember to do all that I told you to do. I forgot to even mention on TikTok that these earrings come from Bukone's Creations. These were made by the hands of a 14-year-old. Her business name is Bukone's Creations. The link is in the description on how to get access to these beautiful earrings. Okay, see you tomorrow.